need generally ayers sanghas do not need to remind ayers attitude, but sometimes ayers are such involvement, some beneficial activity for the sentient beings, and sometimes never forgot, but sometimes a little bit according the difficult of the sentient beings, maybe a little bit kind of distracted, or that perspective just need to remind, to urge, to say, please do not forget your kind mind concerning to the sentient beings. With that, we are studying this book, and also these books are, this book is quite deep, profound, very much like a philosophical way, and also it is very much logically, and how to analyze, how to understand the reality of the relative truth and absolute truth. And also, it's even the some ayers to reach the level of the bhumis and already be in the ayers path, but still there are need to apply, study, contemplate, and meditating. And that perspective, of course, no need to mention, for example, like a kind of my level. And more study, more beneficial, and more understand our own individual realities. And of course, we are now talking about the relative realities. Relative reality is not kind of existence outside. The relative reality is like our own individual experience. And how it is a kind of pleasant if it really we realize it. We every day, each moment, each picosecond, we are experiencing about relative reality, but still we are very much confused. And that perspective we need to more to study. And also the kindness teacher of the Buddha, he found it like our own individual realities, the reality of our own potential, the reality of our self-improvement. Otherwise, we all the time is looking and seeking and chasing something is outside, and open the mouth, looking in the sky, and putting the hope on the something's kind of the shoulder, or some kind of the beings. Maybe saying is all the time is give me some strength, power, happy, take away my sorrows, so on, so on. But in our peerless teacher of the Buddhas, maybe in the temporarily, something is like can be the conditions to us, but reality, and we do not need to any kind of cause and conditions, and our own individual self, and it has perfect our own precious cause and our own individual precious conditions. If we realize that our own individual own potential of the cause and conditions, and that is the enough, that alone we can to achieve great happiness, forever happiness of the enlightenment. And that is, since Buddhas appear in this world, and afterward there are millions beings who say there is such have experienced that. And someone's it has experienced inner individual, your own potential of the precious realities, and that is the most richest, that is the most highest achievement, that is the most highest happiness, and there is no comparisons. And also that is like a kind of incontestable, and that perspective what we need to looking outsidely, and therefore we want to achieve and that kind of level. And obviously when we look at our own situation, maybe we can to say that there's the translation apprehender and apprehended. And I said it's like this morning, reference aspect and the cognitive aspect, or it is the same meaning of the apprehender and apprehended. Or we can to say the mind and the appearances. And that is our life, that is our focal object, which is we need to know about in our life. That is our body, that is our universal, that is our ground. That is nobody's belongings, that is our own. But our own mind, our own appearances, how we can to make the money like kind of mastery. In the Buddha's teachings is called the masters. Would you like to become the master? What does it mean? Not controlling to the other sentient beings, not kind of to put under other sentient beings. In the Buddha's teachings perspective, master means we become the mastery of our own mind, and also we become the mastery of our own individual appearances. And that is the most important. At the moment, we are not mastery over our own mind and our own appearance. Ourselves are very much slave for our mind and for our own appearances. And we are completely like under the dependent of the appearances and the mind. Mind itself, it is relate to the disturbing emotions. And at the moment, our mind is not really genuine, authentic. Of course, that is in the relative perspective. And it is quite confusion, ignorant, very much clinger, very much self, and like so on. And also it's the appearances of the relative appearances. And also very much controlling to us. We are kind of under our appearances. When they have different expression or express of the outer our appearances, our happiness and our sorrows looks like very much depend outer appearances, expressions. And also in the Buddha said, the outer appearances, whatever existence, it doesn't matter in the samsara or the nirvanas, is nothing kind of the behind of our mind. There's not truly existence, any slight, any atom or particles. And it's called the Buddha, is the self-appearances. And like appearances, there is like a dream because of the self-appearances. Appearances are like a rainbow because of the self-appearances. Appearances are like hallucinations because of the self-appearances. The appearances are the magic illusions because of the self-appearances, which is the mind's magic illusions. And outer whatever appearances of the samsara and nirvanas, do not need to follow them, do not need to put hope on them, and do not need to care much about them. If we really do want to care, we need to analyze to them, existence or no existence, and to check out the source of them. We can't find the source of the outer appearances, only the mind is. Without mind, there's no source of the outer appearances. It is the truth. It is not kind of exaggerated. Therefore, we need to again and again analyze in order to understand how it is. Its outer appearances, really like if we more and more look, they are rainbow, they are hallucination, they are echo. They are like kind of the smell eaters. It's like kind of appearing, but it's immediately disappeared. They are like living in the momentary nature and the individual particles, parlous particles. And which kind of, we say, existence. And like this, therefore we have, here is the three kind of valid cognitions, like a functional reason and the reason of the dependencies, and the nature of reason, the reason of the natures. Through these three reasonings, and to establish how it is the relative realities. When we are in the living in the relative realities, and relative reality are the realities. Looks like truth, but of course relative. Looks like existence, but it is relative, not truly existence. And we are more analyzed, and the no-identity, the identity list of the nature, the crucial point of the relative truth naturally shine. And that is the way we are looking, that is the way I like kind of want to realize it. No existence, or the crucial point of the essence nature of relative realities. And also maybe to clarify it, there's three reasons. The functional reason compare the cause. The reason of the dependency refer the result, effect. Reason of the nature is refer the each individual like properties. Like for example, like fire, it has some nature is the heat or warm. Water, it has solidity, something like this. This kind of like nature is not nature realities, each individual characteristics. And the relatively like this, we can to say that salt is very much salty. Why salt is not hot than like chili? Chili is not like salty. Why it is different characteristics? This answer is who can to say it's like this and that. That is the nature of these contaminated things are like this, the individual, their own characteristics. This kind of nature characteristics, it is incontestable. Incontestable. What does it mean, incontestable? You cannot to argue, cannot to say like this. This is the naturally like occurring. That is the necessary to need to. It is like kind of when we do the negative things, essence, characteristics, bring sufferings. Positives, doing its nature characteristics naturally bring happiness. That is the who can to say not like this. It's like this. Therefore, these three things are just to be before stopped. It says the starting point of this. This included only the worldly discipline, transcendent the word said. Through this kind of logical and reasonable, or it's like kind of the spatial tool methods to make the surely precise or the decisive of the relatively and about the worldly and the spiritually. And also all the phenomena arise in the mutual dependence, mutually dependence. Whatever arise from the mutual independence, all the phenomena, outer phenomena, inner phenomena, phenomena of the samsara, phenomena of the nirvana or samsara, both. Whatever arises in mutual dependence, already we talking about the 12 link of the interdependence. They are naturally possess their own particular characteristics. That is that we call the nature, particularly characteristics, which are uniquely, there's uniquely, this is very important. It is like terminologies. And also sometimes the language of this philosophical terminology, very important to study. And at the moment, English language is quite advantageous, but Dharma terminology, each individual translations, lots of us, Pantitas created, we have different terminologies. But maybe in the future, we hope some great learners maybe to decide it, like making the same as the Tibet language. You know, in the Tibet language, these Dharma terminologies, very precise, very definitive, easily to study. But in English language, at the moment, Dharma terminologies, generally the base of this language is very rich vocabulary. And one word, there are so many hundreds of synonyms, it's difficult to study. But maybe we can to capture like some is like a first basic word to make the familiarities, and then maybe we can to move another synonyms and more maybe easy. Uniquely, the uniquely or the different. Uniquely and the difference. And uniquely, there it's each individually. Like a kind of, they are like a kind of group or the gathered, particularly characteristics. For example, like we can see the fires or the waters. Water itself, it has uniquely collective or uniquely. Water itself has earth, fire, space, 5 elements. There are compounded water itself. But itself, it has particularly characteristics of the fluidity. Like the plain and simple facts of the conventional, each this individual, those phenomena are particularly characteristics. For example, earth, it is the solidity, like a kind of heart. Why not earth is become the soft? Rock is very hard. Why? Who did? Who made it like this? There's no creation, no doer, but it's naturally occurring like this. This is the own individual, particularly characteristics. And also the water's fluidity. They are kind of uniquely the water itself, but fluidity, more like kind of liquid. And fire itself, also it is the uniquely, but also it's the warmth, different opposite of the earth, opposite of the water. Why? Because itself is the particular characteristics. And so on are the incontestable. Incontestable, this means is like you cannot to argumentate, cannot argue. It's like this, we come to say. In the relatively, not necessarily all the times like, we say, no, in the absolutely not like this. This is a truth. Absolutely different. But in the relative, it's like this. Because without the relative truth, we cannot establish the absolute truth. First times we need to go through the relative truth, and then we need to apply the absolute truth. And the Shantakurt and all some in the Indian master say, if you want to the roof of the absolute truth, you need relative stress, the ladders. And from the relative ladder, if you climb on the top of the roof, then you can to safely go to there. Without relative ladders, how you can go on the absolute truth of the realities. And also the next verses. Even just a single thing has countless properties and can be classified in the infinite way based on affirmation and negation. These are natural feature of the thing itself. Here is the more is like talking about the natural feature. Natural feature of the things itself, each individual phenomena. Even each single thing has countless properties. Like for example, just a single things of these computers. Itself, it is the single object of the phenomena, but itself has countless properties. What does it mean? Property of the characteristics. And also, it can be classified in the infinite ways based on affirmation and negation. Affirmation and negation. Very important two words. Affirmation, negation. Affirmation is related to the existent things. Negation is the no-existent things. Very important to learn about that. Very much syllogism, logical, philosophical terms. This is the terminology of the logicals. Affirmations and kind of like to establishing what it is. For example, we can to say that in the front of my desk, or in the front of me, the computer is. When I need to affirmation, I need to negation of all other things, of the mandala and the tables, so on.